The bridge to home. It was a warm summer evening when Mia crossed the old wooden bridge that connected their house to the rest of the town. The gentle creaking of the planks under her feet brought back memories of all the times she had walked this same path. It was here, on this very bridge, that she had first met Ethan 12 years ago. Mia had been new to the small town then, moving to the countryside to start fresh after a difficult breakup. She had come to the bridge to watch the river flow below, letting the sound of the water soothe her heart. That day, Ethan had been fishing by the riverbank, his easy smile and kind eyes immediately catching her attention. They had talked for hours, standing on that bridge, and by the time the sun had set, she knew she had met someone special. Now, years later, the bridge symbolized so much more. It was the crossing that led her back to the home they had built together, the place where they had raised their son, Toby, and created a life filled with laughter, love, and hard-won joy. Mia paused in the middle of the bridge, leaning over the railing to look at the river below. The sun was starting to set, casting a golden light over the water. She smiled to herself, thinking about the plans Ethan had hinted at that morning. He had been secretive, making sure Mia knew to be home by dusk. He hadn't said why, but she had a feeling it was something special. That was Ethan, always planning little surprises. As she crossed the bridge and approached the house, the first thing she noticed was the soft glow of lanterns hanging in the trees around their yard. Her heart skipped a beat. Ethan had strung up the lights, creating a magical pathway that led to the backyard. The scent of roses and lavender from her garden filled the air as she followed the lights around the house. There, under the large oak tree where they had celebrated so many family moments, stood Ethan. He was holding a picnic basket and had laid out a blanket on the grass. Toby was beside him, his 6-year-old face beaming with excitement. The sight of her husband and son waiting for her, the soft glow of lanterns surrounding them, filled Mia with an overwhelming sense of love and gratitude. "Surprise!" Toby shouted, running over to her and wrapping his small arms around her waist. "Daddy said we're having a special dinner." Mia laughed, crouching down to hug him. "I can see that," she said, ruffling his hair. "What's the occasion?" Ethan walked over, setting the basket down. "You'll see," he said with a wink, his familiar grin making her heart flutter the way it always did. He took her hand and led her to the blanket. They sat down, and Ethan began unpacking the basket. Mia's favorite foods were inside: fresh bread, homemade jam, grilled vegetables, and a bottle of the sparkling cider they always shared on special occasions. As they ate, Toby chattered away about his day, telling Mia all about the bugs he had found in the garden and the drawing he made at school. She listened with a smile, soaking in the moment, her gaze shifting between her son's animated face and Ethan's contented smile. Once dinner was finished and Toby was busy playing with his toy cars, Ethan cleared his throat and reached into his pocket. "Mia," he began, his voice suddenly serious, though his eyes were soft. "I've been thinking a lot lately about how fast time is passing." Mia tilted her head, sensing something important was coming. "What do you mean?" she asked gently. Ethan took her hand, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. 12 years ago, I met you on that bridge. I didn't know it then, but my entire life was about to change. You brought so much light and love into my world, and together, we built something beautiful." Mia felt tears welling in her eyes, her heart swelling with the love she had for this man who had been her partner in everything. "I don't say it enough," Ethan continued, "but I'm grateful for every day I get to spend with you. And as Toby grows up, I realize how precious this time is. I don't want to take any of it for granted." He pulled something small and shiny from his pocket, a delicate silver bracelet, engraved with the words, "Our bridge, our love." "I had this made for you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "The bridge brought us together, and it's been a symbol of our journey ever since. Every time you wear it, I want you to remember that no matter where life takes us, I'll always be waiting for you at the other end." Mia's breath caught in her throat as she stared at the bracelet. It was beautiful, not just for its design, but for the meaning behind it. She blinked back her tears, overwhelmed with love for Ethan, for their life together, and for the quiet, thoughtful way he always found to show her how much he cared. Ethan, it's perfect, she whispered, her voice trembling. Thank you. He smiled, a mixture of relief and happiness crossing his face as he fastened the bracelet around her wrist. I love you, Mia. More than anything. I love you too, she said, leaning forward to kiss him softly. The warmth of his lips, the comfort of his presence, reminded her once again that home was wherever they were together. Toby ran over at that moment, breaking the tenderness with his joyful laugh. Mom. Dad. Look. I made a bridge for my cars. He pointed to a small stack of stones he had carefully arranged into a makeshift bridge. Mia laughed, wiping her eyes, and pulled him into her arms. You're just like your dad, you know that, she said, kissing his forehead. Ethan grinned. He's got a good teacher. As the sun set behind the trees and the stars began to twinkle in the sky, the three of them sat together, watching the fireflies blink in the distance. The old wooden bridge stood in the background, a quiet reminder of the past, but also a symbol of the life they had built. And as Mia rested her head on Ethan's shoulder, the silver bracelet glinting in the fading light, she knew that no matter what the future held, they would always find their way back to each other, just as they had that first day on the bridge.